Welcome to the Lancast. I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser. Welcome to our special holiday episode where we're going to be hearing two season-themed stories.
Our first story is A Pennsylvania Dutch Night Before Christmas, written and narrated by Chet Williamson, published by Pelican Books.
It was night before Christmas, and all over the farm nothing was schusslich, no cause for alarm. The socks were all hung by the chimney just so, with the hopes they get filled up from ankle to toe. The nixnutzes schnoozing without any sound, in their heads clear toy candy's been dancing around. And Mum and me, well, we oughtn't the light, crawled under the covers and snuggled up tight. Then from the outside we heard something fierce that made open our eyeballs and rattled our ears. There was crashing and banging, and could it be true? Did our ears deceive us, or was that a moo? Then off to the window we ran in the dark. Kicked the dog accidental, he started to bark. When we looked through the window, coming in through the gate, it wasn't one moor we saw, it was 8. 4 cows and 4 steers. They were harnessed somehow, and were dragging behind them an old-fashioned plough. And there, just behind it, as sour as a pickle, was a fella we knew had to be the bell-snickle. He wiggled that plough to keep going on course. I think he'd done better if he'd had a horse. So dopplich and slow those 8 dummers did run, and he growled and he grumbled and yelled at each one. "Na Jakey, na Becky, na Rachel, Josiah, on Minnow, on Sarah, Esther, Obadiah, and watch where you're going. There's nothing unwiser than stamping your hoofs into stray fertilizer." They got through the barnyard without any hitch, and the bell-snickle grumbled and raised a big switch. "Climb up on that roof now, and you make it snappy. You don't want to make me no more unhappy. Macht auf on that trellis, then to the porch roof, and don't get no ivy wines caught in your hoof. I'll get awful greislich if you make me fall, so clamber up, clamber up, clamber up all." Like the chickens all look when to fly they're trying, or the mess kids are making when shoes they are tying, so clumsy they climbed, up an inch with each moo, but somehow they made it, and it wonders me, too. And then in a twinkle we heard on the roof each cow that was rooching round stamping its hoof. The cracks of the roof timbers filled all our ears, 'cause it just wasn't built for 4 cows and 4 steers. By now all the kiddies had run in our room, frightened by all of those cracks and those booms. To tell them what happened I was gonna begin, when chump and gee zooey the ceiling fell in. Down came the bell-snickle plop in our bed, a few shingles making down right on his head. And when we looked up through the hole in the ceiling, it was just a little bit worried we're feeling. For there overhead was that 8 head of cattle, still stomping so hard that it made the walls rattle. We felt as if we'd all been cursed and verhexed, and that cows would fall down into our bedroom next. But they on the roof stayed, and I wiped away sweat, then looked at that scary old bell-snickle yet. He had got to his feet and was brushing his breeches, holding his sack and using his fidges. He was dressed all in black from his toes to his hat, and he frowned and said, "Hey, what are you looking at? Ain't you never seen no bell-snickle before?" Well, I had, but the others had come through the door. His beard was all strublick, as white as snowfall, and his belly so skinny it nearly was all. I couldn't help thinking that this crabby guy could use a few dumplings and shoe-fly pie. His eyes, they looked angry, but though they seemed wild, when he looked at the kiddies he just sort of smiled. Then he wiped it away like he'd made a mistake. Or for him some schnitz und nepp Mama should make. Then he asked all the kiddies, "Have you been bad or sweet? If it's good that you've been, then I'll give you a treat. But if you've been bad, then I'll warm your breeches with one of my special bad kitty switches." They said they'd been good, and were telling the truth. Still he glowered at Amos, he grimaced at Ruth, he frowned down at Abner, who just kind-o grinned, and the bell-snickle leaned down and tickled his chin. "Ah, crabby I might seem, but don't you forget, I ain't never had to spank one kitty yet. It just must be something around in the air makes the kitties act better at this time of year. So his switches he dropped, and he opened his sack, and he handed out oranges, yo-yos, and jacks, a dolly for Ruth, and a wood horse for Amos. We laughed as we watched him, and who could blame us? And finally he gave to Abner a teddy. With that final gift, to leave he was ready. But he said, as he crawled over shingles and sticks, "I'll send over Stoltzfus your broke roof to fix." Then he chumped the hole through up to his waiting plough, and he yelled to his livestock, "Get going, and now, down to the ground, and without no complaint, until we get done, and the houses all ain't." They sprung off the roof to the yard way below, where they got stuck in near 40 inches of snow, and that Bell Snickle yelled, brushing snow off his head, "Merry Christmas to all! Now just go back to bed."
If you'd like to purchase A Pennsylvania Dutch Night Before Christmas, you can do so through Pelican Books online or at your local Barnes & Noble bookstore.
In 2009, Jeff Burkholder of webcomics Zoidland, Frankenland, and Oro Brothers fame started an online writing project, a collection of short stories set in a small town in western PA, a seemingly normal little place where everyday life is frequently interrupted by incidents of the not-so-normal. This project has been adopted by a group of local writers who have met on Twitter and have been working together for the past year, collectively known as Twit Writers. This wonderful group of people has nurtured it from a little fledgling idea into a crazy, wild beast. There are now several participating authors in this venture, a West Coast illustrator, and the editorial staff has grown to include Janine Burkholder and Jason and Kirsten Deeds. The following story, Christmas Presents, is the December 1st offering at Gloaming Gap. It was written by Jason Deeds and Janine Burkholder and will give you an overview of the inhabitants of the town and the small foreshadowing of what is to come in the new year.
I shuffle through the square, unnoticed, unneeded, irrelevant. I've bumped elbows tonight with the elite of the town, the council of elders who run this place, the ones who've been here from the beginning, and who think they know everything that happens here. They don't. They don't know me, even when I run into them headlong. Mayor Eby stares crazily into space as usual, nodding blankly as his secretary goes over the evening schedule. No one knows her name, but I do. Rumor has it in his younger years they were an item. I happen to know for a fact that's how she made him her puppet. His mind has long since been drained, like a sink. No, a toilet that drains. Anyway, all he's good for is a signature and an occasional public appearance. There is something else only I notice. Lilith, behind the gazebo, gesturing from the secretary to Sandra, who will report everything as she wants it to appear in the paper, not as it really happened. Everybody will believe the paper, as always, because nobody will remember details on their own. It's all part of the course for this place, and no one else really knows about it. They can't affect me. They don't even know I'm here. I'll blog the truth later. Of course nobody's going to read it. There are children chasing each other through the streets, and they all seem to know each other from the school, and they have no idea about the undercurrents of suspicion that their parents are all freaking out about. They're probably safe tonight, since the whole town is here, but still their parents watch all nervous like. There are just too many disappearances in this town for anyone to ever really feel safe. Tamara entertains the little ones, Cassie, the Linder boys, Kylie's brood, and the others. They all love her, and she's always the first choice for babysitter in this town. She's grown into quite the little mother since her best friends Paul and Timmy. Well, you know. Caitlin hurries past me, yelling for Tam to wait up for her. As she bumps my arm, she slows, bewildered, and looks at me. "Excuse me, sir." She looks around as if she's seen something, and it's no longer there before she shrugs and continues on. Wait, if she can see me, then am I actually dead? Even the ghosts and spirits don't normally notice me. I call after her, but the moment has passed, and I'm no longer there. I watch her like a moron before I'm distracted again by more people. There's a whole bunch of the usual holiday excitement as my former boss and colleagues untangle miles of tiny little lights to pull all over the tree. That used to be my job before I disappeared. I wander over to lend a hand. He'll wonder later how they untangled themselves. As I step toward the tree, I trip over Bella, who is, as usual, not paying attention. She doesn't even flinch as her fingers fly over the face of her phone, no doubt stuck in about half a dozen conversations at once. I have to laugh. The man no one sees and the girl who sees nothing, except her phone. Wonder what happened if I tried to text her. "Hey, Bella!" Shaking my head, I look up just in time to see Bella staring at Clarence from under the sprig of a mistletoe hanging off the pool cue he carries with him. Chance smirks and points up at it. "Way to be obvious, douchebag." Everyone shakes their heads and Bella looks at him like he's a worm. They stare at each other for a moment, and then, as if she suddenly remembers something, Bella's face changes. She's plotting something, I can tell it. She slides up to him and stretches to her tippy toes. With a look of determined, she puts her hand behind his neck and plants a kiss firmly on his lips. They stare at one another for a moment before she giggles abruptly and runs back to her fake friends and her phone. "Pick up your chin, Chance." Father Joe laughs and straightens the crooked mistletoe for him with a twinkle in his eye. The sprinter from the edge of town, who also saw the whole thing, chimes in with a wink. "Don't let that one get away. She's special." Chance gulps and hurries off after Bella, waving at Ash and his band sitting up in the gazebo. I watch her run through the crowd, seeing her face change as she reads the different messages. When she gets to the street lamp, I watch her stumble a bit and shiver, then run off without even noticing. "Where did she go?" Oh, joy. Rachel's voice works on my very last nerve every time I hear it. Honestly, I don't know how we expect anything else of Bella. Her whole attitude of "I'm better than you" would kill me if I didn't know she had every reason to feel superior. No one knows how much power she holds. Not even she does. "You're still sure she missed the evil wedding," Lisa snorts, stuffing another cookie into her mouth as the two girls brush past me. How that girl stays looking as sexy as she does with the way she constantly eats, I will never understand. Maybe some things in Gap will always be a mystery. Rachel, of course, has a response. Nice, eloquent one. "Shut up, Lise. This has nothing to do with Frank. This is about Bella. She's such a..." Lisa's eye roll is classic. I'd have pointed the direction their little sister had gone, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway, so I just let them go. Chaos builds in the square as filling. The air fills up with the smells of spiced cider, hot chocolate, popcorn, and gingerbread. Well, and massive amounts of B.O. Take a shower, people. Everyone's here tonight, and Charlie's Snack Shack is serving up the traditional holiday treats. Gwen and Elizabeth meet up with Crystal and Lucy before joining the gossip of the town's medical staff. They share news of how business is changing, who's here and who's not since the last year. Looks like the lighting ceremony is about to begin. The band plays. They're not bad for a bunch of high school dropouts in holiday cheer. And alcohol, I'm sure. It's in the last second as Lilith and the secretary drone on and on from the platform that I make my decision. I step up to the tree, in full view of everyone, if they just notice, and I loosen just one of the tediously tested lights. If no one will notice me, at least this will be one effect of my existence that nobody will miss. I'm not trying to spoil their fun, you know, just trying to feel like I'm part of this somehow. The crowd's getting excited now, and the mayor steps up for his only purpose, to switch on the lights. He can't even do that right tonight. He throws the switch and everyone groans as nothing happens. "Hi, Keith." The voice stops me in my tracks and I look around bewildered. "Up here." Sitting on the street lamp that Bella tripped under earlier, Timmy dangles his legs aimlessly, swinging them in and out of the light. Few have noticed him either, and those who have seen him have said nothing. Even among this group, he is now considered an outcast, something no longer quite human, not entirely dead, yet not officially undead either. You can see me?" "Yep, I see everything, including that." He chuckles and then points seriously down towards the shadows on the other side of the park, where Stephanie Linder and the chief of police argue with one another. "I think perhaps it's time for us to compare notes, yes? Looks like we both could use an ally." I swatted a lightning bug zipping across my face before realizing it is winter, and that my lightning bug is one of what appears to be hundreds of fairies flying into the tree to replace the missing lights. Will anyone remember tomorrow that the bulbs even went out? Not if Sandra doesn't report it. The ceremony continues to the luminary part. As the candles are passed around and lit, I watch as each face of family and friends that live in Gap glows. As the center of town is filled with light, the darkness is pushed back just enough to see the ghosts on the edge of the crowd. Tonight we are unified, as this moment flows through all of us and illuminates the town square. Just for tonight.
The group from Gloaming Gap is looking to publish a book in January or February, so make sure to check out gloaminggap.com for updates on that and more interesting stories.
We hope you enjoyed this very special holiday episode of the Lancast. And from Keith, Lauren, Quinn, Austin, Becky, and myself, we all wish you a very happy holidays.
We hope you've been enjoying the Lancast.
This episode was produced by myself, David Moulton, with show notes by Keith and Lauren Slesser.
All pertinent links to this episode can be found in the show notes at thelancast.com.
If you specifically liked this episode, we ask that you consider making a donation.
Every little bit helps. Even $1 a show can keep us going.
If you'd like to help support us, you can do so by going to thelancast.com/donate.
And don't forget to subscribe in iTunes and tell a friend about the show.
So, for the Lancast, I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser.
Asking, are you in the cast?